up on the Q30 Newscast.
Find out about a recent resignation in the Student Government Association.
Plus, 10 new laws have been put into effect in the state of Connecticut. Hannah and Olivia spoke to students to see how they feel about it.
And learn more about professors adjusting to in-person classes after COVID. All this and more on the Q30 Newscast.
Welcome to Studio 125. I'm your anchor, Heather Owen.
And I'm Gage Kilborn. Let's get started. Yesterday, the CLERGY report was released to all students on campus from Chief of Public Safety Tony Reyes. Some of the numbers that stand out are drug law violations went down 30% from 2019 to 2020. Liquor law violations went up, however, by 28%. Vandalism went down 2 points from 2019. Intimidation, on the other hand, moved up 3 points from 2019 to 2020. Finally, simple assault and larceny have been consistent at 0.
President for Public Relations of SGA, Carmine Grippo, resigned from his position and had informed the General Board of his intent to resign last Wednesday. The former Vice President of Public Relations declined to comment on his decision. Q30 News received a statement from SGA saying, quote, Carmine Grippo, the Vice President for Public Relations for Quinnipiac Student Government, has decided to resign from his position in order to pursue other leadership opportunities at Quinnipiac, end quote. The elections were held today at 4 p.m. and the student government elected Jennifer McCue to be the next Vice President for Public Relations.
Jennifer McCue joined SGA's executive board as the Vice President for Public Relations after Carmine Grippo resigned. McCue will be the only female on the board, and she is confident that the transition will be smooth.
Honestly, no, it doesn't. Even as class president, which is my previous role, I've gotten to work with a lot of the E-Board members personally, and I have not been afraid to state my opinion in certain matters, and I honestly feel it's going to be a seamless transition going in and being able to be in that space with them as well.
McCue is stepping into this position after serving as class senator in her first year and as president for the class of 2024 for the past month. She has multiple ideas and plans for the university's student body.
Another idea that I have is to create an SGA website, whether it be through on the main CIAMPANELLI website or through a third party that can be linked on the CIAMPANELLI page, so it's easy to access for the current student body and alumni.
She also wants to use her role to promote diversity and hopes to help address issues that happen on campus using this new position.
Just promoting diversity and inclusion more just on campus. I know there's been several situations last year and also years prior that definitely just in our community as a whole need to be addressed more, and I want to make sure that goes within our organization and also to the student body as well.
Meanwhile, SGA President Nicholas CIAMPANELLI is excited to bring McCue on board, although he expressed sorrow about Carmine Grippo's resignation.
It's always disheartening to see a member of the executive board resign. This is the third member of the executive board that I've seen resign in my time on student government, and it's never easy, just as a member of SGA, because these are our friends that we work with and seek to enhance the student experience here at Quinnipiac with.
Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Luca Triant. Jennifer.
Now let's take a look at this weekend's COVID dashboard. As of Monday, October 4th, Quinnipiac currently has 7 active cases. 5 new cases in the past 7 days, bringing in a total of 42 cases since August 30th. Currently, 94.2% of the students are fully vaccinated, while the remaining few receive approved exemptions, with only a few non-compliant. While the faculty and staff have a 97% vaccination rate, and the remaining 3% also received approved exemptions.
Samantha Pirelli spoke to Quinnipiac professors this week to find out how they have been coping with the changes due to COVID and how they are adjusting to teaching in person again. Let's take a look.
Although last year classes were mainly online or hybrid, this semester professors are adapting to teaching in person. While there are still some classes online, most classes are taking place in classrooms. This gives professors and students an opportunity to have larger classes and be in a group setting. Professors discuss how they can go back to their original course plans because last semester they did have to alter it in order to fit the circumstances of their students.
I would realize, oh, they don't have the money to do it, or they can't get out and do it, or whatever. So I had to be adaptable. I had to be more flexible in what I would expect or what I could ask of them.
This semester, professors are glad to actually see their students participating in classes compared to being online.
You know, what I find this year is I think people are really, it's harder to get the energy levels up in online courses because I think students, now that they've had a taste in some of their classes of being back on ground, they really prefer that.
While having classes in person can be a transition, professors are excited to have a connection with their students once again.
It's joyful to be back in the classroom and to be there with them physically. And it does make a difference. It really does.
Regardless of the pandemic still having an impact on the learning and teaching environment, this semester has given professors hope that teaching can go back to how it used to be before the pandemic. I'm Samantha Pirelli for Q30 News.
The career fair was back in person on Monday after 2 years of not meeting physically. Students had the chance to meet with business representatives from all over the country in the Athletic and Recreation Center, which was a big change from last school year where the event was online. The return of the career fair to an in-person setting comes after the university loosened COVID-19 restrictions over the summer. Although this might seem well and merry, some students were well and distraught over the situation to enter this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
It was scary. You're trying to get yourself out there with these employers and try to be on time and punctual to show you can show up to things at the right time. But you can't. You pull in the campus, you see the line, and you're like, all right, I'm not going to make it. Some people only have 45 minutes or 30 minutes to go, 1 or 2 employers, but they can't do it because they have to deal with parking.
With a small amount of available parking spaces on campus, some Quinnipiac students have recently been parking at Sleeping Giant State Park. Q30's own Avriel Evans asked the park supervisor, Jill Schiepenflug, about how this was affecting parking.
In the spring, it's a bigger problem than it is this time of year because in the spring we have that closed off, only because you never know what it's going to do in March and April. So when we get nice days, even though that's still closed, you know, because of the snow, we don't want people getting stuck up there. We've been kind of forced to open it earlier, but, you know, because the students park here and then people visiting the park want to park here, and then it becomes a problem. There just isn't enough parking.
Students driving on Hogan Road experienced disruptions on Monday morning due to repavement work done by the town of Hamden. The university sent an email announcing the work. Cars were still able to park on the road and park at Hogan Lot as the work was being done. Even though the road is classified as a scenic road, Hamden Mayor Kurt Lang gave special permission to repave the road as part of an effort to repair roads across the town. It's time for us to take our first break of the show, but coming up after the break, learn about Connecticut's latest laws.
And we have an update on the nation with Fiona Stevens.
But before we go, Hexaba Rajan gives us the weather. Hexaba?
Guys, the weather is really not looking all that good. We had a couple of cloudy days the past days and a little bit of rain that's kind of going to stay persistent. We had cloudy today. Tomorrow and the day after is going to look partly cloudy. But I have more for you about the coming up week and the state right after this break.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry, I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
The state of Connecticut has been busy. 10 new laws went into effect on October 1st. One of the new laws states that patients who use medical cannabis will now be allowed to legally grow it at their own home. Also, the state just expanded the definition of domestic violence to range from physical abuse to verbal. Finally, a new pedestrian safety law states cars must yield to people in crosswalks who show interest in crossing, making it now illegal to open a car door in the path of a bicycle. Under these new laws, employers are not allowed to ask job candidates for their age or year of graduation, and the salary disclosure law requires them to inform their employees a salary range when being hired as well. Olivia Cattell has more on the story.
This past Friday, a new law was implemented across Connecticut. This new legislation would prevent employers from asking any questions during an interview that would reveal the age of an applicant. The law went into effect on October 1st and aims to prevent discrimination in the hiring process.
The new law that has gone into effect on October 1st in regards to employment in the state of Connecticut says that an employer cannot, at the point of application, ask for your age or for an immediately identifiable fact, such as the year you graduated from high school or even the year you graduated from college.
With less emphasis on their age in the job applying process, students now believe that they can be better seen for their accomplishments.
I think it definitely affects college age kids like us, because I don't want to say there's ageism in the industry, but definitely college age kids are definitely, I want to say, viewed as more immature or like not experienced. So when you go in for a job or an interview, I feel it usually goes more towards even grad students, not even like slightly older than us, and older candidates.
Hopefully this law will increase the confidence in any students looking for a job or internship. For Q30 TV,
Among the new laws that took effect, there is one that requires all passengers in a car to wear their seatbelt. Hannah Mirsky asked students on campus to learn more about how they feel about it.
a new law took effect on October 1st, requiring all backseat drivers to wear a seatbelt. But many were shocked to find out that there already wasn't a law in place.
I feel like the fact that there was no seatbelt law before for people in the back seat is troubling, considering that so many people are saved by seatbelts in accidents.
For Connecticut drivers that get pulled over for a different offense, law enforcement can issue a fine from $50 for drivers over 18 and $75 if the driver is under 18. This law acts as a secondary enforcement where an individual cannot be pulled over just for not wearing a back seat belt. Some students were content with knowing law enforcement would begin cracking down on the law.
That keeps people safe. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is keeping people safe.
Hamden Police Detective Sean Dolan says he isn't worried about compliance.
Once people become more aware of it and accustomed to having all passengers buckle up, I think you'll see compliance increase as time goes on.
According to the governor's office, from 2017 to 2020, 12,589 Connecticut residents were injured from car crashes, plus another 61 fatalities. Dolan says law enforcement's goal is always to have passengers buckle up.
Voluntary compliance is our primary goal. We want people to put on their seatbelts no matter what the seat is.
It's one step, takes you 2 seconds, and it could potentially save you in the case of an accident.
Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Hannah Mirsky.
You know, Heather, there was a lot going on in the national world today.
Gage, I cannot agree with you anymore. To break down the news,
More than 1,400,000 gallons of oil have spilled into the Huntington Beach waters in Southern California, a result of a ruptured oil pipeline discovered early Tuesday morning by Coast Guard. Authorities speculate that a ship's anchor may have caught onto the line and caused a partial tear, as well as displacing it over 100 feet from its original position. Amplify Energy Corporation, who manages the pipeline, shut it off 3 hours after receiving notice from the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration and didn't report the spill to National Response Center until 6 hours afterwards. California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency for the Orange County late Monday in efforts to clean up the spill. An Oregon school board is cracking down on political symbols in the classroom. This came after outrage from parents and teachers regarding a specific ruling against Black Lives Matter or pride flags in the classroom. The Newburgh School Board affirmed their ruling yesterday by broadening that definition entirely, citing political neutrality and dodging litigation. They stressed that they believe all students' identities are still supported and welcomed in their schools, but that the focus of schools should be on the curriculum. The Oregon State Board of Education has spoken out against the ruling and asked that the school board reverse their decision. Lastly, according to an announcement made on Tuesday, the director of the National Institute of Health, Francis Collins, will step down from his position by the end of the year. He said in a written statement, quote, "I am proud of all that we have accomplished. I fundamentally believe, however, that no single person should serve in this position too long, and that it is time to bring a new scientist to lead the NIH into the future," end quote. The 71-year-old physician geneticist is credited for the discovery of the genetic mutations in diseases such as cystic fibrosis and neurofibromatosis type 1, assisting the acceleration of coronavirus treatments. He plans to return to his post at the National Genome Research. That's all I have for the National. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Fiona. We're going to take our second break. But coming up, learn more about Quinnipiac study abroad.
Plus all the latest news from all over the world. We'll be right back.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track and ace your retirement.
Back and forth weather.
You know, Heather, I don't normally agree with you, but this time I will. But thankfully, we have one of the best meteorologists I know, Hepzibah Rajan. Hepzibah?
This week's forecast over the state isn't really looking all that pretty, guys. We're getting a lot of colder weather now. The highest we have is a 63 at New Haven, and the lowest we have is 56 over at Norwich. And the rest of the state is seeing more of a mid and late 50s. And going on to see the rest of the weather over this week. Like I said before, before our break, Wednesday we had a high of 71, we had a low of 52. It's following that same trend the rest of the week. Thursday and Friday looking pretty similar out there. Saturday and Sunday almost identical. And the rest of the days we'll be seeing a little high near the 70s and a low that's closer to the late 50s. That's all I have for weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
Quinnipiac hosted an event on Tuesday promoting wellness around mental health within the student body. The event was sponsored by the Jordan Portgrove Foundation, a nonprofit based in Hartford that's dedicated to raise awareness on suicide prevention and the overall promotion of mental health.
Each booth has a topic or a theme, and within that theme we're trying to spread information about mental health, and we're doing it in a fun, kind of creative way to have people feel a little more comfortable talking about a topic that sometimes is uncomfortable to talk about.
The study abroad program just announced they will be back in person for the first time in around 2 years. This news brought excitement to the students who want to travel, as the program saw applications increase this year. However, there are still those who fear that the virus will still be a factor on this opportunity. Q30's Tim Malone sat down with the Director of Global Learning, Erin Sabato.
We're constantly evaluating the safety and risk of these countries, and so we've been very clear and transparent from the beginning with students that things can change, but there's always the risk and there's always the possibility that a program may not run due to these safety concerns.
Gage, a lot is happening in this world.
Heather, I completely agree, and there's a lot to break down, but thankfully Grace McGuire is here to break it down for us.
Thanks, Heather and Gage. We start off in France, where a report exposed French clergy on Tuesday for sexually abusing about 216,000 people since 1950. According to the French Commission, most of the victims were boys, and many were younger than the age of 14. The Catholic bishops in France formed the commission in 2018 to shed light on abuses which the church authorities were covering up. The president of the Conference of Bishops of France reportedly asked for pardon, and the bishops are working to compensate the victims. Now turning to international business, a team of investigative journalists released the Pandora Papers report on Sunday, exposing over 300 public figures for hiding their assets offshore. The report exposed politicians, including current and former country leaders like Vladimir Putin. This allowed them to avoid taxes on properties, while the gap between the rich and the poor continues to grow in many countries, according to the report. The report was written in order to increase financial transparency internationally and expose twice as many people as similar report the Panama Papers did in 2016. And finally, we look to space. A Russian actress and director made it to the International Space Station on October 5th in order to film the first movie in space. The feature, to be called The Challenge, is reportedly about a female surgeon sent to the ISS to save a Russian astronaut. This 12-day mission means that Russia will once again beat the U.S. to a first in space, even as Tom Cruise, NASA, and Elon Musk are working together to prepare for their own space movie. That's all I have for international news. Back to you guys.
We're going to take one last break.
But when we come back, Dylan Summer has all the Quinnipiac sports stories you need to know.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this. You will find something.
You will find something new.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spot on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
For those of you who are interested in betting on the Red Sox this postseason, you're in luck. The Connecticut Sports Betting launched September 30th with retail sports books at 2 casinos in the state opening. DraftKings and FanDuel opened retail sports books at Foxwoods Resort and Casino and at the Mohegan Sun, respectively. Meanwhile, online sports apps will not launch on October 7th as previously expected. The Department of Consumer Protection spokesperson stated that delays in the publications of gaming at the federal level led to the delay. Fortunately, this delay should not be lengthy. Fall sports are starting to come to an end, which means winter sports are right around the corner.
You're completely right, Gage. And for one, I could not be more excited to be back at the People's United Center. Dylan Summer has all we need to know about Quinnipiac sports and more.
Thank you, Heather and Gage. It's been another eventful week in the world of Quinnipiac sports. Let's start with women's ice hockey. The women's team has gotten off to a hot start after winning their first 4 games of the season. Last weekend, they defeated the LIU Sharks in both contests. Second-year Olivia Mobley played a big role in those victories, as she scored a hat trick and an assist in Game 1 and tallied another goal in Game 2. She was also named ECAC Player of the Week for her strong performance. The Bobcats plan to continue their winning ways as they face off against the St. Anselm Hawks this weekend. Next, let's recap what happened earlier that week at the Soccer and Lacrosse Stadium when men's soccer took on the Siena Saints. Quinnipiac's Brog Austin had a huge outing as he scored the first and last goal of the game. In addition, Austin set up David Burcedo for the tying goal that would send the game into extra time. With his solid performance in mind, Austin was named MAAC Offensive Player of the Week. It is his second MAAC Weekly Award of the season. With the win, Quinnipiac improved their record to 6-2 and received their first MAAC victory of the season. The Bobcats would go on to lose to the Marist Red Foxes in the following contest. Now they will look to bounce back this Saturday as they travel to Buffalo, New York to face the Canisius Golden Griffins. Finally, let's take a look at field hockey's first victory of the season. On Sunday evening, the Bobcats took it to the field to compete against their rival, the Yale Bulldogs. Quinnipiac got on the board early in the matchup as first-year standout Amelia Massarelli scored the opening goal. However, Yale would quickly answer back and tie the game at 1. Later on, Mazzarelli would find the back of the net for the second time, giving the Bobcats a 1-goal lead. 4 minutes after, Yale's Maddie Wong would tie the game once again, sending it into overtime. Quinnipiac's redshirt senior Brooke Whipke would then net the game-winning goal in overtime. This would be the Bobcats' first win of the season and their first win against Yale since September 8th, 2017. Quinnipiac hopes to keep this momentum as they play the Yukon Huskies next Friday. And that's all for sports. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you, Dylan. Hey, Heather, do you know what day it is today?
Wednesday?
Come on. It's National Noodle Day. How do you not know this?
Okay, but do you mean noodles or pasta?
Is it the same thing?
No, they're not the same thing.
Then what's the difference? Break it down for me here.
Noodles are like if you're going to a Chinese restaurant. You're getting your lo mein, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Pasta, that's your strict Italian.
Lo mein is the same thing as linguine, though. That's what I'm saying.
No, you're wrong. You're obviously not Italian.
I am Italian. I'm from Italian City, okay?
Doesn't mean you're Italian.
Doesn't mean I'm Italian, but it means I know my Italian food, okay?
We'll see about that. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for tonight's show.
Be sure to check out Q30 on Instagram and Twitter at Q30 Television, and download our app to stay up to date with Quinnipiac news as it comes out.
From Gage Kilborn and me to our producers and everyone behind the scenes, I am Heather Owen, and have a wonderful night.